Hello everybody. I get a lot of questions about my reef tank because I have 9 wrasses and no other fish. No tangs, no angels, no blennies. Since I lost them a few weeks ago, that's been it. So I've decided just to stick with all wrasses in my tank. So I get a lot of questions concerning my wrasses because I don't have any aggression issues with my wrasses. So I want to talk about wrasses for a little bit here today. Hopefully clear up any questions people might have. First off, I have 9 wrasses in my tank. I have red chorus wrasse. You can see him right there. There's my yellow chorus wrasse. And they're both from the same family. Even though, I mean, the chorus wrasse is considered a chorus wrasse, but there's other names people call them. I just call them a yellow chorus wrasse. I've had my red chorus wrasse now for about 2.5 years. He was maybe an inch and a half long when I got him. He was just a little juvenile, and now he's changing into his adult coloration. The next thing I have 7 leopard wrasses in my tank. I have a Moyer's leopard wrasse, which you can see him right there. There's a blue star leopard wrasse, black leopard wrasse. There's my Potter's leopard wrasse. There's my baby Melagris. And then I have a larger Melagris. There he is right there. And so those are all the leopard wrasses I had. I got all my wrasses at the all my leopards are of different variety, except for the 2 Melagris. And I just added the second Melagris, which is a baby. I just added him. There he is there. And I just added him about a week ago. And it was kind of a risk because when you add 2 wrasses that are exactly the same, from the same family, and look exactly alike and all that kind of stuff, you run the risk of aggression. So it kind of was a risk, and I took it just because of how tiny he is. And it paid off. The other Melagris didn't really pay him much attention at all. And he does really well in the tank. He holds his own. He does his own thing. I was a little nervous getting a leopard that little, but he does great. There he is there. He's silly, swims around, goes in and out of caves, eats, does great. I don't quarantine wrasses at all. It's a lot of people do. I don't quarantine them. I've always believed that they were sensitive to that kind of stuff, and they're sensitive to shipping stress and whatnot. So I buy them from a reputable fish store. And I always make sure they're eating aggressively in the store, and I do check for any signs of fin damage, mouth damage, that kind of stuff. They will not recover from it. So, another note about leopard wrasses is when you do pick them up from the fish store, after you make sure they're eating aggressively and they look good and they look fat and healthy, also make sure the fish store's had them for at least a week, if not 2 weeks, would probably be better. That's my recommendation anyway. When you bring them home, my fish store has theirs in a coral tank, which the salinity is at 2.5, which matches mine. I just drip acclimate them for about 40 minutes and then add them to the tank. Not all of them, but not all of them will do this, but most of them will go, because they sleep in the sand at night. All the wrasses I have in this tank, all 9 of them, sleep in the sand at night. They don't hide in the rocks like fairy wrasses and stuff like that. They sleep under the sand. So, what I do, or what happens is the minute you add them, not all of them will do this. The Potters didn't do this and stuff. But like, for example, when I added that black leopard wrasse, he was in the sand for probably 4 days. He came out for maybe 45 minutes, half hour in the morning, and then went back in the sand. And I didn't really see him for a full day until the 4th day. Other ones have stayed buried for 3 days. That Moyer's wrasse, he stayed buried for a good 3 weeks. However, part of the problem was he was being bullied by my checkerboard wrasse, which I then, after I realized the problem, I then caught the checkerboard wrasse and took him back to the fish store and traded him in. But the key is to, when they bury, I know it's kind of hard. That's the worst thing about leopard wrasses, is waiting for them to come out of the sand, because that's oh my God, I hope it didn't die or whatever. The best thing to do is do not dig up your sand bed looking for that leopard wrasse. Do not search around or try to find him or anything like that, because that's part of their acclimation time. So when they're under the sand, they're acclimating to the new surroundings. When they're ready, they'll come out. If they're healthy and they're eating at the store, their chances are very, very good that as soon as they're ready, they will pop out of that sand and be hunting and looking for pods. And if you notice these wrasses, these are how wrasses are supposed to look. They're supposed to be actively swimming. Wrasses don't stay in one place for very long. They don't hide in holes and all that kind of stuff. Not the ones I have, anyway. They're actively swimming, searching the rocks for any kind of morsel of food. They like pods, anything, flatworms, anything that you might have, anything you might have in your sand and your rocks. They're constantly searching for food. Because wrasses come from the genus Labridae, which in Greek basically means glutton. So wrasses definitely have a huge appetite. And as you can see over here, that's why there's I don't have any tangs or angels, but I have a seaweed grazer. And that might seem kind of funny, because wrasses are carnivores, not omnivores. But mine, however, like both. So not most of them, not all of them, but probably 3/4 of my wrasses will eat seaweed, and they love it. And the first one who started doing that was my red chorus wrasse. He would go and pull seaweed off the clip, and I thought he was just doing it just to do it. But then when I was watching him, he was actually eating it, and he loves seaweed, loves it. Most of my leopard wrasses also like seaweed as well. So, after the red chorus wrasse eats all he wants, then the rest of them will go pick off of it throughout the day. But I just put in one clip, since I don't have, angels or tangs or anything like that anymore. And basically, like I said, I don't use an acclimation box either. A lot of people that have a lot of wrasses in their tank will use a social acclimation box that they put the fish in and just kind of keep an eye to see if there's going to be any kind of aggression issues. And they keep them in there from anywhere from a few days to a week or longer, depending on the situation. I don't do that with mine. Now my way, and again, I research. I don't rely on fish stores. I do like my fish stores. However, I always have to keep in mind that fish stores are, even though they do care about their livestock, they are trying to make money. So I rely on myself for research, and I have an excellent book that my dad had got me for Christmas, which is a wrasse book, and by George Michael, and it's an excellent book, and I really like it. And also, obviously, on the internet, there's plenty of good forums and different things on Reef Central and Reef to Reef that have a lot of people discussing wrasses, and you can get a wealth of information on that as well. And where my group of wrasses right here are not aggressive to each other, it's not saying that somebody else could go out and buy the exact same kind of wrasses I have, put it in their tank, and then have all kinds of problems. Because every wrasse is an individual. And again, I learned the hard way. Like, for example, when I had the checkerboard wrasse, I researched that extensively, and everywhere says, that it wasn't. They didn't even have it as moderately aggressive. It was. Everybody said everywhere I read it said peaceful, and that was the farthest from the truth. He did not like that Moyer's wrasse from the very beginning. He wanted to kill it. That was just apparent. So, so that's the, it's kind of not 100% that everything would work out, but definitely research everything before you buy it. Research the species, and make sure you have the tank. If you have a leopard wrasse or anything in the genus, the chorus genus or anything like that, they sleep in the sand. It's imperative that you have sand. I see a lot of people with bare bottom tanks, and they try to put a Tupperware bowl of sand in the corner for these wrasses, and that just, and it wouldn't, to me, it wouldn't work long term for the health and happiness of the fish. They definitely need a sand bottom. They definitely need a sand bed, because they all sleep in the sand at night. They don't sleep in the rock work or anything like that. So it's very important that you have the right conditions for the type of fish, and that's where research comes in. So definitely research the species, and look at the different compatibility, of the species that you want to keep. That's for sure. And that's basically all I did to ensure. And again, it's not 100%. Anything's always a risk, when you put stuff in. But not getting the exact same kind, like 2 blue star leopards that are the same size, or stuff like that, limits the chance for aggression. And improves your chances of success. And again, I'm not saying not to use a social acclimation box. That's entirely up to anybody. If you want to use it or not. But for me, that's not something that I chose to use. But and also, with any tank, and what I've had to learn over the years, if your tank can handle what it can handle, and it can't handle any more. So it's hard. I know it's hard. It's hard for me to resist the urge to go out and add another fish when you have 9 fish. 9 fish is probably maybe 10 at the most in my tank, is probably all my bioload can handle. And you have to be a responsible aquarist and realize that. And it's hard, and it's hard for me. I've made mistakes in the past and overdone it on my tank. But what happens is you have fish deaths, and that's a shame. That's the bad part of it. So it's best just to know how many fish your aquarium can handle. So that's basically the gist on my wrasses. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask them. And if you like the video, please like it and subscribe.